Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into why traditional Western edtech models are, frankly, completely failing in places like Indonesia and Nepal. And more importantly, we'll look at how a radical new approach is unlocking some very real, tangible, economic empowerment. You know, if you've ever thought simply handing out smartphones was the silver bullet for global education, well, prepare to have that assumption completely flipped on its head.
Here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the digital skills disconnect, then look at why mainstream platforms fail and how a smartphone-only curriculum is the real answer. After that, we'll cover offline first delivery models and finally wrap up with the virtual agency blueprint. Basically, we're pivoting from severe infrastructural problems to a scalable business model that actually works on the ground.
All right, let's jump right into part one, the digital skills disconnect, and really shatter this tech illusion.
We have to start by asking ourselves a really critical question. Does owning a smartphone actually equal digital literacy? We see these high mobile penetration numbers globally and kind of think, hey, job done, right? We assume that because rural youth have phones, they automatically have access to the global digital economy. But the harsh truth, having a piece of hardware in your pocket absolutely does not suddenly grant you the skills to navigate the modern digital workforce.
It's wild how sharply Western expectations clash with grassroots realities. We just assume access to apps equals learning, right? That data is unlimited and that everyone speaks English. But the reality on the ground is entirely different. We're talking about incredibly unstable cellular signals and wildly expensive data where literally every single megabyte has to be budgeted. Plus, there's a severe lack of foundational reading comprehension and the language barrier is massive. Just to put that into perspective, Indonesia alone has over 700 spoken languages. Standardized apps in English or Bahasa simply isolate students who only speak regional dialects at home. And honestly, the physical environment is just as unforgiving. In places like Nepal, the lowlands, the Tarai, suffer from intense heat waves and seasonal flooding, and that causes frequent, massive power grid failures. Up in the mountain regions, you're dealing with extreme geographical isolation. Getting something as simple as a laptop or a router to a school, that can require literally days of trekking. There's zero landline internet, meaning communities rely entirely on cellular towers just perched on mountain ridges. Because of all this, offline, low-voltage, solar-powered systems aren't just some nice-to-have option, they're an absolute necessity for survival if you actually want to keep a classroom running.
Which brings us to part two, why mainstream platforms fail, or what we can call the App Store mirage.
So, if the infrastructure is that fragile, why can't educators just use the platforms we use every single day? Well, they simply buckle under the pressure. We might think YouTube and Facebook are great for learning, but streaming video completely eats up that strictly budgeted, expensive data. The fix? Apps actually need to support offline downloads via free school Wi-Fi. Then you have WhatsApp groups, which basically devolve into unorganized chaos without trained moderation, so we actually need micro-learning videos just to teach the teachers how to manage a digital classroom. And educational games? They often just push rote memorization without any critical thinking. To fix that, we need text menus that require fully typed answers. Oh, and here's a crazy one. Even downloading a lightweight, helpful app is impossible when the App Store itself won't load because of dropped signals. The workaround there is using local Bluetooth sharing of offline app bundles.
This completely changes the game for how we must teach. Moving on to part three, the smartphone-only curriculum, where we're swapping desktops for mobile trades. The absolute crucial point here is that less than 15% of rural youth in Nepal even have access to a computer. So teaching desktop software like Adobe Photoshop or Microsoft Excel, it's completely useless. Instead, we have to shift our mindset to teaching specific smartphone-based digital trades. Students can learn mobile asset prep, like removing backgrounds and resizing product images using Canva Mobile, PhotoRoom, or Pixel Lab. They can learn data entry, formatting strings using the Google Sheets and Docs mobile apps. They can even handle content formatting by simply using mobile browsers in desktop view to log into Shopify or WordPress. And as for that massive language barrier we mentioned, we teach them to use AI translation tools to manage English client communications via localized prompts. These are highly specific, highly valuable tasks that Western business owners honestly hate doing, and they can all be executed from a cheap smartphone.
But how do you actually deliver this specialized training to a remote village without relying on the internet? Let's get into part four, offline first delivery models, specifically looking at the hub-and-spoke system.
This whole setup requires a decentralized, completely offline first network. It's a low-tech but highly effective pipeline. Here's how it works. First, A central hub in a major city like Kathmandu creates these highly visual, 2-minute screen-recorded tutorials. They literally show fingers tapping the screen, so you don't even need to understand complex technical jargon. Next, district hubs in towns with stable electricity, places like Janakpur or Surkhat, download these assets via high-speed fiber lines straight onto physical storage, like SD cards. Finally, local youth coaches act as village spokes. They'll gather students in a community hall or a local tea shop and just beam the training packages directly to the students' phones using peer-to-peer apps like ShareIt or local Bluetooth. Boom! Zero cellular data required whatsoever. And now we get to the real payoff. Part 5, the virtual agency blueprint. This is where we build the economic engine.
So once the training is done via those SD cards and Bluetooth transfers, how do these students actually turn those skills into income in the global economy? Well, there's a saying that perfectly sums up the strategy. The fastest way to make money online is selling services, not products. Think about it. Instead of trying to launch an Amazon store with zero capital, zero inventory, and just massive legal paperwork hurdles, these students become behind-the-scenes virtual fixers for Western solopreneurs. They're selling their time and their newly acquired mobile skills for immediate cash.
To really wrap your head around the economic impact of this, I want you to consider a single number: 141 US dollars. That right there is the average monthly minimum wage in Nepal. Just keep that number firmly in your mind for a second.
Because get this, a student who secures just 2 $100 microservice clients in a single month is suddenly earning more than many mid-level corporate managers sitting in a high-rise in Kathmandu. It's wild. A simple $100 service fee for, say, fixing a Shopify store layout overnight fundamentally transforms a student's life. It completely outpaces traditional corporate salaries and provides absolute life-changing capital.
But we have to remember the digital divide we talked about earlier. These students can't exactly jump on a live Zoom call with a client in New York. The data drops would be a nightmare. Nor can they easily navigate complex English marketing channels. And that is exactly where the asynchronous agency workaround comes into play. A front-end agency acquires the clients and handles all the Western marketing. When a task comes in, it gets routed to a trained student via Telegram or WhatsApp. And here is the real genius part. The student executes the work overnight. Why? Because that's when local cellular networks actually have less congestion and fewer timeouts. Once they're done, the agency handles the final English communication and quality control and sends the completed work right back to the Western client.
Tying this whole ecosystem together means navigating a pretty harsh reality. Platforms like PayPal simply don't support direct withdrawals to Nepalese bank accounts. So here's how the payment actually flows. A frustrated Western solopreneur pays $100 for a quick fix. That money goes into a US global account. From there, it's wired internationally via Wise or Payoneer directly into Nepal's commercial banking system. The bank then instantly routes the student's cut, let's say $40, directly into their local mobile digital wallet like eSewa or Khalte. It's a win-win-win. The client gets a bargain, the agency takes a management cut, and the student makes an incredible localized wage without ever having to leave their village.
Which leaves us with this really provocative thought to end on today. If a simple shift from desktop-based education to smartphone-only trades can redistribute global wealth this effectively, how much raw human potential are we currently just ignoring by forcing rigid Western tech standards on the rest of the world? When we design for reality instead of assumption, we don't just teach, we completely transform economies. Let that question marinate for a bit. I really hope this explainer sparks some entirely new ideas for you.